Welcome back to another edition of Issues and Interviews with Kieran Michael Lawler on the Hudson Power Broker YouTube channel. I am joined by a great guest, a repeat guest, somebody who is in the thick of this election, which has already started, Chele Farley, candidate for New York's 18th Congressional District. Good morning, Chele. How are you?
Good morning, Kieran. It is great to be here on a snowy day. You might be able to actually see the snowflakes in the background.
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought? I see
I
people
know,
put,
in October, before Halloween. Uh-huh.
I, I see people putting out Christmas stuff, so you get what you ask for.
That's true. I just
So
need to get through Tuesday, get through the election. We have 5 days until the election. Lots of people have been voting early, which is wonderful. But I think there's still many more people to go to the polls. In my county of Orange County, only about a sixth of the voters have gone to the polls so far. And so I am, I'm here trying to explain to people the differences between me and my opponent, Sean Patrick Maloney, who's running for his fifth term.
I was going to ask you who your opponent is because he's like a ghost. I've heard about him, but I never actually see him around.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm up on TV. I have done lots of direct mailers. In fact, I ran into a postman who said, I know exactly who you are. I have passed out so many pieces of your mail and your literature. Absolutely. I am up on the internet doing lots of online ads. And of course, I have lawn signs everywhere. And my opponent, shockingly, has actually done none of that. Sean Patrick Maloney. And so this really makes us all question, does he really want the job? He's certainly not campaigning or doing any of the things that he would want, but he's running for his fifth term. And one of my big pledges is I signed the term limits pledge because I feel strongly that we need to limit the number of terms people have in federal office. And we need to stop the era of career politicians. And the way to do that is to institute term limits. So I've signed the pledge and I will abide by it. But my opponent's running for his fifth term.
Well, can you hear me, Chele?
I can, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I wasn't sure there. Yeah. So Chele Maloney, he's hard to find. He's been around a long time, and he's been in politics his whole life too. Like his whole life, the Clintons, Spitzer. He is definitely a swamp creature. Even before he was in Congress, he was kind of part of that swamp. And what's amazing to me is there's a video from 2 years ago when he really didn't want to be have this congressional seat, and he ran for the New York State Attorney General, where he praised his cash bail, which didn't mean as much at the time, but now we've been living with cash bail for so long, and all the problems with it since January. It's amazing that he's on the record supporting cash bail, no more cash bail, and the so-called reform. Your thoughts on that and his position?
Absolutely, it's ridiculous. Yes, he said his top priority when he was running for Attorney General 2 years ago was to eliminate cash bail. He came in third in that primary, but sadly, he got his wish. And the New York state government passed the elimination of cash bail, and you see what's happened. We have, with all of the looting, the police would round people up, would book them, and then they would go right back on the streets to loot again. But much worse than that has been, right here next to me in Rockland County, here in the Hudson Valley, a security guard was murdered by somebody who actually was out on cash bail. And what's terrible is that this HEROES Act, which has a wonderful name, who doesn't want to get behind that? But the actual act itself would expand this elimination of cash bail, which we have in New York, and go across the entire country. That is why he's always saying, "Oh, my opponent is not in favor of the HEROES Act." He's like, he's right. He's not. I am not in favor of the HEROES Act because I do not want the expansion of the elimination of cash bail, and I want to support the police. I don't want to defund the police. It is why I am backed by the majority of the law enforcement groups. The FOP, the SBA, the DEA. It's wonderful, and the PBA. We've got to do everything we can to make sure that people are safe and that we support the police who are doing their job to keep us safe.
And this has historically been the New York 18th District, which is parts of Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess, and all of Orange. It's kind of a purplish district. It's gone back and forth over the years, and then Hayworth, then to Maloney. It's not a hard left district, but he's a hard left guy, despite his best efforts to portray himself as a moderate that reflects a sort of a middle of the road purplish district. I know I've read that he's for Medicare for all, which I think would be a disaster.
Absolutely. But as an example of the fact that he is not the moderate bipartisan person that he is always portraying himself as, in this cycle, he has voted with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, 100% of the time. right? Has not missed a single vote. You can't call that a bipartisan record. And it's crazy. But yes, he is in favor of Medicare for all, which would eliminate, the medicine, the plans that the rest of us have, through our businesses, through our companies that we worked for, and through our unions. The 150 million people would no longer be able to have and use those plans. We would all be under government health care, socialized medicine. I don't know about you, but I want personalized medicine, not socialized medicine. And on top of that, Sean Maloney is a co-sponsor of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal.
Wow, that's incredible. I was actually just going to mention AOC because she came out yesterday in the Vanity Fair article and she said how terrible Obamacare was, and I have to agree with her. She said I pay $100 a month for the privilege of having an $8,000 deductible. Exactly the exact criticism, but it wasn't that long ago. That was the thing that was going to save us all. Obamacare was this great revolution in healthcare and it was going to save us all. Obamacare is bad, but Medicare for all would be significantly worse. Then you get to the Green New Deal. Everybody wants clean air, clean water, and prosperous societies tend to have that more so than less prosperous societies. In the really poor countries, in Venezuela, they have major problems. Among them, environmental decay, because if you're poor and you're starving, you don't have time to take care of your environment. The Green New Deal would be an economic disaster. I'm shocked that Maloney in this district would sign on for that.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I mean, it would be an economic disaster. At one time they were talking, that what were they going to do with cows? Like, I have a 13-year-old son. I mean, he loves his hamburgers, but like the whole concept of just the economic cost of it would be astronomical. But the one thing I want to talk about in terms of healthcare is that I want to make sure that everybody knows, and I am on the record, that I absolutely support that we have got to keep healthcare for people with pre-existing conditions. You've got to be able to get healthcare, and actually, the Republicans have already passed something to ensure that would happen. I will not sign on anything that does not protect people with pre-existing conditions.
You bring up a great point because that is a political tool. They actually use people who have pre-existing conditions, my daughter being one of them, as a tool, as a political tool to beat back Republicans because they pretend like either you take their whole Medicare for all or their whole Obamacare, which part of it includes protections for people with pre-existing conditions. And if you don't accept that whole thing, therefore you're against people with pre-existing conditions. We should have a program tailored directly, specifically for people with pre-existing conditions, and people without pre-existing conditions should continue with healthcare that they like. And I don't know why that is never discussed on the left. It's you take all of this, including protections for people with pre-existing conditions, or you're very bad person and you want people to be unhealthy and not have healthcare. It's amazing that they get away with it. The media lets them get away with it.
I agree, but I mean, there are a lot of great things that can be done and have been done. I mean, the whole idea of right to try, I think was wonderful, and so many people on both sides thought that they should do it, and it just never got passed. And finally, President Trump was able to get it passed. We should, frankly, have most favored nation status when we're buying drugs. I mean, it is ridiculous that right now the U.S. pays the highest price for the exact same drugs, just basically because we can. That's not fair. It's not right. And the administration has put something in place to stop that. But actually, I feel like we should be able to also buy healthcare across state lines. Yeah. And we should have price transparency. You should know what the cost is of something before you go and have it. And for example, I was talking to Bill Cassidy, a senator who is a doctor, who has worked in medicine his entire life. And one of the things he talks about is that, when you're going in for a CAT scan, I said the hospital has to have somebody there, a radiologist, 24/7. And that there's one cost if you're going from 9 to 5, and there's another cost if you're going in off hours. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it would really do a lot to drive down the cost of all of our health insurance. And nobody is focused on it, and I think we need to do that. But I keep getting back to the issue. I do think that, if you knew you were only going to be down in Washington for a set amount of short time period, that you would actually get these things done. And that's why I feel so strongly that we've got to institute federal term limits. Yep. The other thing is, just today, I signed I signed a pledge to repeal the death tax. I think we pay enough taxes when we're alive. We do not need to pay them when we're dead as well. And it is something that has been talked about a lot. And again, I think we need to go ahead and solve it. It does not produce, frankly, very much income, to the federal government, but it costs so many people, their inheritances, their farms, other things, and it's like the time is now to go ahead and repeal the death tax.
Yeah, well said. Well said. You're so true that we pay from cradle to the grave. Do we have to pay once to the grave and make our
Yeah.
family? Great point. As we wrap up here, Chele Farley, my favorite sign of this election season is the Chele Farley Trump sign. Combined sign, half Trump, half Chele Farley. I think Trump's going to do great in your district. I think that you're going to do great in your district. And you're going to have to come back when you're a big, powerful member of Congress. You're going to have to come back and talk to little old assemblymen like me.
Oh, I can pass on my congressional seat to you when my term's up. Absolutely, you've done a wonderful job in the assembly, and I think we need so many more people stepping up, to support their communities. I mean, that's the way we really make change, and that's why I want to go. My website is congressgetsomethingdone.com, and it's something that I think we desperately need. As you know, I'm an engineer. Engineers fix things, and there is no bigger mess that needs fixing than Congress.
Yeah, that's my second favorite sign. An engineer to fix Congress. You have good signs. You have good signs. That's my second favorite.
Thank you.
I take some of them just become white noise, but your signs kind of stick out because you have a couple of unique things there. So, last word. What do you want the voters to know? They can vote today. They can vote tomorrow. They can vote Sunday. Then, for some reason, not on Monday. And then on Tuesday is the big day.
Not on Monday, but they can definitely vote on Tuesday. And the other thing that you can do is you can fill out an absentee ballot at the Board of Elections and hand it to them. I still strongly suggest that people go to the polls. I went yesterday, and shockingly, it was only 10 minutes. And I was there in Middletown. I was in and out, which was wonderful. I think the lines have gotten a lot shorter. But I do want to encourage everybody to go and vote. This is the way you can make real change. And yes, I would love your vote. I'm Chele Farley, and I would love your vote for Congress.
All right. Go get them, Chele. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Kieran.
I can't wait to celebrate and see you sworn in.
Me too. Thanks a lot. You too.
Good luck.
Bye.